So this week's episode of Garo was a very different type of episode, and I really enjoyed what they did with the perspective change, not focusing on Sword, but rather we're focusing on Scarface, one of the antagonists here, and we actually get to finally see El Dorado, and El Dorado is just a weird cult of a city. Now, this city I thought was just perfectly detailed, because it comes across as this very normal looking city. Everyone thinks it's all nice and pretty, it's where all the parties are at. But you know shit's gonna get weird, and I like actually focusing on, Scarface here for this week. We get to see just how powerful this guy is. We also get to see that he is a whore himself, which shouldn't come at too much of a surprise, because people being whores is just kind of part of the formula for Garo. But it's interesting seeing his abilities, that he can essentially just eat other people and then turn them into basically a clone of himself so he can use them for fights. And then he could transform into his, badass horror form to fight as well. And I thought it was interesting because all throughout the episode, we're, focusing on him as well as this one random girl who essentially just got into El Dorado. And then, of course, she gets chosen to be, the food for the night or whatever. I thought it was interesting focusing on him for the entire episode because it was really putting him in the forefront of, this guy easily could lead El Dorado. He's insanely strong, he's just kicking ass, he's taking names, no one can stand in his way, and then it all gets thrown in his face. And I thought that was interesting because literally a singular shield for the king can stop a man this powerful. How is our main character, Sword and Gina, going to defeat the king of El Dorado if literally his shield can just stop his attack with a single hand? And that's a good way to really showcase the power of El Dorado and just the people inside. Because if we would have just went Sword into El Dorado, I think it would still be cool and it still could showcase the just insane power levels of some of these people inside this town. I just thought it was even better to have a side kind of villain character showcase this for us. And I thought that was just a perfect way to really just show us that the king of El Dorado and just his subordinates are just absolutely insane with power levels. And Sword's probably going to get his ass handed to him on more than one occasion when he gets to El Dorado. I really don't think he's going to have an easy time. Before, I'm Sword's going to kick ass and takes names. He really hasn't struggled too much, minus one fight with one of the Dark Knights there. But still, the power levels are insane. But it does make me question, because I'm curious if they're going to go the route of either there isn't actually a king, and the king is just something that people hear about but never have actually seen. It's really just a cult following, worshipping a god who isn't actually there, or if they are going to actually go the route of there really is a king and the king's probably going to be Sophie's brother or something like that. Because yes, we did see the glasses guy saying he rules over the city, but he definitely struck me more as just kind of the governor of the city, not really the king of El Dorado, but maybe he is. But still, it was just perfect to see an episode like this. It really shows us just the danger of El Dorado, but also that the subordinates for the supposed king of El Dorado are this strong. What would the king be like with his power? And I just can't wait to see how Sword, Sophie, Gina deal with this threat, but also just all the other crazy twists and turns that are going to obviously pop up here. I just thought this was a phenomenal episode, definitely in my top 5 Garo Vanishing Line episodes. I just thought it felt very different, the tone was different, it visually struck me as different, but it was just nice to see the threat levels in this way, because now it makes me worried for Sword as a character, because even though he is this giant Hulk, he's still gonna struggle, I think, in El Dorado here, and that just makes me very excited to see what kind of twists and turns they're gonna pull going forward. But overall, this episode of Garo is just a very fun episode, but kind of like last week, it felt very different from previous episodes, but I think this one worked just even better because it really is showcasing the danger of this place here, and I just really am excited to see how Sword and everyone else are going to deal with this. Hoping Gina doesn't get her head cut off here or anything like that, but this is Garo. Sometimes sacrifice does have to happen for the greater good. But seriously, let me know your thoughts. What did you think of this episode of Garo Vanishing Line? Did you expect to see just such a different shift in tone and just perspective, and how do you think Sword and the gang are actually going to be able to deal with this new threat? Because seriously, I think they're going to have their work cut out for them when they finally get here. But just this weird cult of a city is just everything that I thought it could be and a little bit more. I'm very excited to see where they're going to go with it, and just ultimately if everyone in this town really is a horror like it appears to be. Let me know your thoughts down in that comment section below, and before you leave, smack that like button, share your support. If you need to, be sure to subscribe. So until next time everyone, please take care and have a good one.